In celebration of the upcoming May 4th release of Avengers Infinity War, I recently began a weekly series of reviews for movies set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Last week I did a review of The Incredible Hulk, so let's move on to the next entry in the MCU, Iron Man 2.
Oh, it's good to be back!
The sequel to 2008's Iron Man 2 continues the adventures of Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, who, after revealing his secret identity as the invincible Iron Man to the rest of the world, has to deal with his declining health, thanks to his arc reactor slowly poisoning his blood, his relationships with James Rhodes and Pepper Potts becoming more and more strained, and the emergence of a vengeful new enemy, Ivan Vanko, who has ties to his father's legacy. Alright, so if you're keeping up with the Infinity War challenge, like rewatching all the Marvel movies, and you saw this one recently, I think you'll agree with me when I say that this movie is actually better than most people remember. I'm not saying it's underrated, like, say, The Incredible Hulk, but it's still a great addition to the MCU. The action's pretty solid, the new armors look cool, and most of the story works. It's interesting to watch Tony struggle and start to crumble a little because of the issues his arc reactor is causing, and I like the idea of his dad's actions in the past being the cause of some of Tony's conflicts in the present. But while some of these work pretty well, overall, the movie just plays everything way too safe. Tony fights another guy in an Iron Man armor, threatens everybody at his party, and destroys his house. Who cares? Massive applause when he shows back up. The government's threatening to break into his house and steal his armors.
I've been on the phone with the National Guard all day, trying to talk them out of rolling tanks up the PCH, knocking down your front door, and taking these.
Who cares? Let's give him a medal. Even the angle of his dad doing something that negatively influences Tony isn't really explored well. On paper, you'd think we'd be seeing something like the first season of Telltale's Batman. In that game, we find out that Bruce's dad was actually pretty ruthless, having involved himself with the mob and using his power and money to get people locked up in Arkham. That's actually a pretty interesting, fresh twist, and a lot of Iron Man 2, like Ivan Vanko's dialogue.
You come from family of thieves and butchers, and now, like all guilty men, you try to rewrite your own history.
Perfectly sets up something similar with Howard Stark. But no, we never see that play out. Ivan keeps saying he's gonna ruin Tony or something.
What your father did to my family over 40 years, I will do to you in 40 minutes.
But apparently ruin in this movie means putting on a suit of armor and punching somebody in the face. Look, this movie could have been the perfect movie to introduce the Demon in a Bottle storyline from the comics, but we only kinda sorta get to see elements of that story peppered in here and there. Sure, Tony drinks a little, and sure, it makes him look unsuitable to be Iron Man, but everything's cleared up pretty quickly, and we never see Tony struggle with his drinking. This movie could have been Iron Man's Empire Strikes Back, you know what I mean? Like, with everybody hating Tony, he's drinking all the time, and his reputation's in ruins, something pretty dark and leaving his future as an Avenger in doubt. But instead, this is kind of like Iron Man's Return of the Jedi. It kind of touches on some dark themes, but it doesn't really go as far as it could, and everything's kind of wrapped up pretty neatly when the credits roll. As annoyingly simple as the story is though, I thought the acting was actually pretty great. Like, it's been taken up a notch from the already solid performances we got in the first movie. Robert Downey Jr. seems like he's having a blast putting the armor back on, and it's awesome that we actually get to see Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts doing something instead of just following Tony around. Sure, we may not be able to actually see the full effect of everything she's doing. We're mostly just listening to her complain about how hard it is to run a company.
I am trying to run a company. Do you have any idea what that entails?
I'm trying to run the company.
Well, stop trying to do it and do it. I'm not asking you to try to do it. I'm asking.
I am trying to do the job that you were meant to do.
I quit. I'm resigning. That's it.
But hey, it's something, right? Out of the newcomers, both Sam Rockwell's Justin Hammer and Don Cheadle's James Rhodes are great. Justin Hammer's actually a pretty entertaining scene stealer every time we get to see him, and he has some sick-ass dance moves. I still can't see Sam Rockwell being much of a threatening guy, which makes the scenes with him trying to be angry kind of funny to me, but I still really like the character. Don Cheadle's Rhodey is pretty great too. I mean, this dude is miles and miles better than Terrence Howard was. It actually feels like he and Tony are friends. You actually get to see him express emotions beyond just being mildly annoyed. I guess it's because Don Cheadle was doing this thing Terrence Howard didn't bother trying to do. You know, acting, and seeing him suit up as War Machine and start ripping robots apart is awesome. I still wish we got to see more of him in the suit, it's that cool. Mickey Rourke's Ivan Vanko, on the other hand, is kinda disappointing. Yeah, he's a bad guy, he's pretty threatening looking with those tattoos and those weird looking nails. He kills a couple of people, all that good stuff, but his performance is pretty bland compared to everybody else. I'm not saying he should have been bouncing off the walls or trying to outquip Robert Downey Jr. or Sam Rockwell, but maybe he could have been a bit more intimidating or actually tried tying his revenge on Tony into whatever happened in the past. That could have been cool. That having been said, I do like that we got some actual motivation for the bad guy this time, instead of just, oh, I'm an asshole, or oh, I just want to be strong. By the way, I'm crazy. By the way, if you're one of those people who loves looking for connections to the rest of the MCU, I think you'd have a ton of fun with this one. Unlike the first two movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man 2 really feels like Marvel figured out where they were taking their franchise and started to flesh out the rest of the world in that direction. There's references to Black Panther, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, with the result being a more interconnected movie. There's Easter eggs in the other two movies, sure, but Iron Man 2 actually feels like those Easter eggs have a purpose behind them. Speaking of being interconnected, we gotta talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. Like pretty much every other MCU movie, S.H.I.E.L.D. has a little bit of an influence on the story, but unlike the next entry in the franchise, their influence is actually kept to a minimum. Sure, they forced Tony to work with an undercover Black Widow, and yeah, they helped shake him out of his funk, but it's not like they're jamming themselves into the story every 5 seconds, stealing his work, and doing diddly dick against whatever supervillain happens to be wandering around that day. Personally, I think I could have done without S.H.I.E.L.D. in this one, but whatever. I know Marvel's trying to set up the Avengers, and S.H.I.E.L.D's already been shown trying to put together the Avengers initiative, so I guess they had to show up a little bit. The special effects are pretty decent, but I feel like the first movie beats this one out by just a little bit. Yeah, they both mix practical and CGI effects, but it feels like we got more of the practical effects in the first movie, with the CGI really only there to enhance it. And if it is used to set up an entire scene, then it happens pretty quickly and the whole thing looks pretty decent. Here, the newer Iron Man suits look more and more fake, for lack of a better word. Like somebody decided it was just easier and cheaper to have Robert Downey Jr. wearing a motion capture suit. I'm not saying the effects are horrible, but I think it would have looked cooler to have a full suit of armor running around doing stuff like what we got in the first movie. Overall, I thought Iron Man 2 was okay. I mean, it does the job of a sequel, like it takes the characters and has them experience new things and grow from them, but it also plays things really safe and doesn't really let those characters grow all that much. But we do get to see the world of the MCU get bigger and bigger as we get closer to the Avengers, and there's a lot of great stuff in this movie. It's a fun rewatch. I'd pop it in again if I was in the mood for a Marvel movie. But anyways, guys, that's my take on Iron Man 2. If you guys agreed with anything I've said in this review, or maybe you have your own thoughts about something I didn't mention here, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.